everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are diving into a topic that I get asked about a lot, and it actually happens to be a really popular topic on our channel, and that's testosterone. So we've definitely talked about testosterone in women in the past. We've talked about testosterone replacement, and we've talked about metabolism of testosterone if you're having testosterone issues, and we've talked about sex hormone binding globulin. Where I want to go today is how do we boost our testosterone naturally? So this is particularly important for younger women. I see a lot of younger women that come in and their testosterone is completely in the tanks. And the way that we treat it really depends on where we are in life, right? I get a lot of patients from other providers where prior to pregnancy, they're putting them on testosterone when they know that that patient has the desire to have kids one day. That's not necessarily the direction that I will go right away in the majority of patients. And so we really want to think about how do we boost our testosterone production. And really, this ends up being a conversation about boosting hormone production in general. So it's a really helpful video, even if testosterone is maybe not your hormonal issue, but there are some other hormonal issues. So when we're looking at testosterone production, right, when we're running testosterone, we really want to see testosterone be at a decent level in women. Testosterone does need to be run in the morning, so it's best run in the morning because it does have a diurnal pattern, being that it's highest in the morning and then goes down throughout the day. And I like to see testosterone unmedicated in women about 30 to 50. And then we want to look at free testosterone because we've talked about this in the past, but there's an amount of testosterone that's bound up by a binding protein called sex hormone binding globulin, which basically transports testosterone around the body. But the most important part is when it's in that binding protein, it's not active. And so the testosterone that we have that's actively available will be our free testosterone. And I see a lot of patients who have a history maybe of oral birth control use. We can get this sometimes with different thyroid medications where the sex hormone binding globulin might be a little bit high. And so their total testosterone is fine, but their free testosterone's in the tubes. And so those kind of things would affect the way that we feel. So let's say we ran your labs and you're like a lot of my 30-year-old women that end up kind of looking at their testosterone and going, oh my gosh, this is way lower than I think it should be. What are some things we can do? So a lot of this stuff people have heard, but they don't necessarily know how to put it into perspective. So there's a few kind of things that I would look at. First of all, diet-wise. Diet-wise, protein is really, really, really important for testosterone production. And I will tell you that this will be a controversial thing that I'm about to say, and I'm gonna get people mad at me, and it's okay. In my office, the patients that I have the hardest time balancing their testosterone are people who are vegan. Oftentimes when we do kind of lean, healthy sources of animal protein, so not unhealthy sources of animal protein, but lean proteins, that really helps us boost testosterone production. And our hormone production in general. On top of that, diet-wise, we need to have enough healthy fats. So the first step to making hormones is that your body takes cholesterol into the mitochondria and converts it into pregnenolone. Well, if you don't have enough fats and you don't have enough cholesterol, you won't make enough hormones. So kind of basics, right? I see a lot of patients who have done intermittent fasting or have cut their calories a lot and have specifically got to cut their fat down where they just can't make healthy levels of hormone. And I see this and I can tell my patients macro track a lot of them, and I can tell when they've cut their fats because their hormones will shift, and I'm like, hey, we're going a little low on those fats right now. So protein intake and fats, healthy fats are really, really important. The next thing we want to think about is sunlight. So sunlight is a key component for creating healthy hormones. And when we think about sunlight, we're thinking about getting full spectrum light, which actually means you're outside. You can't get full spectrum light through a window. So you can get it from a light box if you live somewhere that doesn't have a lot of light, right? Or sometimes cloudy all the time. But really what we want to think about is we want to think about getting sunlight throughout the day in our eyes and on our skin. That is really important for normal hormone production. It's really important for normal cortisol levels. And it plays a big role in our sex hormones. And it's easy, right? So what I recommend my patients to do is in the morning, go out and get sunlight early in the morning, kind of hopefully before they drink coffee, preferably mid-afternoon, early afternoon, get a little bit of sunlight, and then kind of in that twilight hour. So we can start to reset our circadian rhythm and show the body what it's supposed to be doing. The next thing is going to be strength training. So I am big on strength training in my channel. I think that women who lift weights do better long term. every time. And so you want to resistance train, you want to strength train. Getting a trainer is an ideal thing to do. There is research that HIIT also does raise testosterone levels. So when we're thinking about this, we're thinking about sprinting and HIIT activities. What doesn't raise testosterone levels is being a cardio bunny. Being a cardio bunny is not going to be helpful for our testosterone levels. It's not going to be helpful for our cortisol levels long term. And so we really want to start to prioritize exercises that are really going to be a long-term benefit to the body. And really the number one exercise that we want to think about is strength training. The next piece would be to support those mitochondria. So I told you, right, that the first step to hormone production is taking cholesterol into the mitochondria and converting it into pregnenolone. Your ovaries have a lot of mitochondria and they're really important for hormone production. And our mitochondria are little divas. They don't like a lot of things, right? They really don't like if there's toxicity around, right? So all of those crap skincare products that people are putting on their faces, those dryer sheets that people are using if you haven't switched over, they're no good for your mitochondria and they're no good for your hormone production. And so this is why we say endocrine disruptors, right? As a big term of things that we need to avoid. It's really our mitochondria hate them and they are little divas and they will not do their job if you make them unhappy. And then we want to support them with nutrients. And we are going to do a video on this because I do think this is important, but some kind of things to think about, right? Like antioxidants, CoQ10, alpha lipoic acid are all important for healthy mitochondrial function. And that's kind of the key. It's the bedrock, right? It's what we got to be working on. And so sometimes we'll do a bunch of different things together so that way we can get the hormone production to go up, but kind of the key is the mitochondria. Other things to think about will be vitamin D. So vitamin D is really important for testosterone production. And a lot of people don't get sunlight. And then when they do get sunlight, they're covered in sunscreen. You should always put sunscreen on your face though, always on your face. But a lot of people are covered in sunscreen. And so they're not getting any of that benefit. And so we really want to get vitamin D. We want to check our vitamin D levels and preferably start to make some from the sun, which would be great because those are really, really important for healthy hormone production in general and healthy testosterone. The next piece is going to be gut function. So gut function is a little bit more challenging because oftentimes patients have an underlying gut disruption, right? So it might be SIBO, which is small intestine bacteria overgrowth. It might be candida. It might be changes in your gut flora and your estrobolome, right? Like the way that your gut plays a role in hormone production. But there's still things that we can do. So one of the things that I tell my patients to do is try to get 5 colors in their diet every single day. So 5 colors of fruits and vegetables, right? That way you know that you're getting a wide variety because that really makes a big difference. Those phytonutrients in fruits and vegetables really make a big difference in our gut lining and in helping to create a healthy gut environment. Maintaining a healthy weight is really, really important for hormones. People who have higher levels of fatty tissue in the body have more aromatase, which is an enzyme that converts our testosterone into estrogen, right? So we might not be keeping as much of our testosterone as testosterone because we're converting it more based on our fatty tissue levels. When we sleep better, when we weight train, when we get in adequate amounts of protein, those things are all going to help us keep a lean muscle mass and keep a lean body figure, which is going to help with our hormone production. But really weight is one of the things. If you're struggling with testosterone, trying to get on a good plan to lean out a little bit is helpful because we know that we convert our testosterone differently. And what's also important to think about is that a lot of people think of testosterone as being a secondary hormone in women. If we were to put testosterone and estrogen into the same measuring stick, right? Women actually create more testosterone than estrogen in their younger years. And so most people don't think about that, right? We think about testosterone as being very secondary and testosterone is a male hormone and women make more estrogen and progesterone. If you actually put them on the same measuring stick, that's not true. And so we really do want to be able to keep our testosterone as testosterone and make healthy levels of testosterone so that women can feel their best. And all of these tips convert into estrogen and progesterone and all of our hormones. So really you're just helping with hormone balance overall, which is really the goal. And then finally, the last thing that I would think about, which by last I don't mean least important, but last on my list, is sleep. So if you don't get sleep, you don't make hormones. You make your testosterone during deep sleep. And so if your sleep is disrupted, if you are sleeping in a room that has a TV, if you are creating poor hygiene, poor sleep hygiene habits, right? Where you're scrolling on TikTok or Instagram until you go to bed at night, right? Where you put your phone right next to your head and you don't even put it on airplane mode. Where you have lights in your room that are keeping you up at night. All of these things play a big role. And so sleep hygiene is important. And a lot of the time I will have patients that will say to me, no, my TV being on doesn't affect my sleep. Yeah. I'm gonna call BS on that one. It does. It's a lot of the time that we need to kind of work on that anxiety picture and that reason why we have that TV going, right? So we need to work on that underlying component so we can get rid of the TV and then really start to get restful sleep. The other thing is caffeine for sleep. A lot of patients will drink caffeine all day. They come to my office and they say, I have a hard time sleeping. And I say, okay, cool. Tell me about your caffeine intake. Well, I just kind of sip on coffee all day long, or I have 2 cups in the morning and I have 2 cups in the afternoon. Sometimes I have one after dinner, and then I say, oh, does caffeine affect your sleep? And they go, nope. And I can't quite figure it out. A lot of the time, right, with my patients, I tell them to try and stop caffeine at noon. My cutoff is 1, maybe 2 p.m. if I'm really on a struggly bus day. But like, you really want to cut that off early. That does play a big role in the way that we're able to sleep. And we make testosterone during sleep. So if you're not making testosterone, right, I would start by looking at these pieces. The nice thing is that every single thing that I mentioned in this video are things that you can do on your own to start to play a role and make a difference in your hormones. We'll see you soon for our next video, and we are going to be talking about mitochondria and maybe some specific things for the mitochondria that we might want to avoid or add in so that we can boost our mitochondrial health and help with hormone production.